Hitendra Chaturvedi, and I'm a professor of practice, supply chain management department to the W.P. Carey School of Business at Arizona State University. I come with over 30 years of experience in industry consulting as an entrepreneur. I built a couple of $100 million companies, and now I'm back to give back in terms of the faculty. Today, I have a absolutely greatest of pleasure in talking to Jasna Prestor. And Jasna is a faculty of business and economics at the University of Zagreb in Croatia. She has published 4 books and has many articles in journals, including Total Quality Management and Business Excellence, and the International Journal of Innovation Management, and many, many others. So she teaches operations management, service operations management, and supply chain management. And very recently wrote a very interesting white paper on the impact of intellectual capital on supply chain collaboration and business performance, which was published in IEEE's Transaction on Engineering Management. And at the bottom of this video, we are going to be providing you with a link where you can go and access the white paper. So I will start this whole process by asking Jasna a few questions, which is coming more from a practitioner, an industry practitioner, on the value of the paper. So my first question to Jasna, and welcome Jasna, is what prompted you to write this paper? This is a very interesting topic. So what prompted you to write the paper?
Well, my colleague and I, my colleague from China, he actually saw this problem in China. And we were wondering, is this a problem just in China, or it's a global problem that intellectual capital is not as used as it should be in companies, in cooperation with companies, suppliers and customers. And that's how we started it. It was a long process. It lasted almost for a year until the paper was published. But I think we now know some things that maybe we didn't know before.
Oh, thank you. I've gone through the paper. I read the paper. So I'm going to put a hat, my CEO hat, and
Okay.
And I'm going to let's say I meet you in an elevator, and I say, Jasna, I just run this company. I just came across your paper, read the paper. As you know, I have very little time in terms of so many things going on. But if I were to pick up 3 things from your paper that I would like to implement in my organization, just the top 3 things, that will show immediate effect and immediate results and bring people together, what would you recommend those top 3 things are going to be?
Well, first of all is to build intellectual capital, but I have to say this will not give fast results. The second thing is to build a relationship with customers and suppliers. And if you do all that, then you will get better business results. But the thing is that you should, as we described in the paper, the intellectual capital is consisted of 3 components: human capital, structural capital, and social capital. And so what is necessary is to build them all together simultaneously. Because if you only have smart people that are not sharing knowledge, you are nowhere. You're not getting any results. So what I would suggest CEO in the elevator, I would say, okay, take your smartest people, take your IT people to work with them to build the structural capital. That means to codify the knowledge of those smart people, and then also build a cafeteria or some place place where they can all socialize, and make a reward system based on sharing, on teamwork, instead of in the individual merit. Because if you are trying to build intellectual capital, it will not work if you build only one component. For example, only having smart peoples, or only have knowledge in database, or only have social people who socialize but don't solve the problems of the company. So you would need all three of them. So this is already a too long answer. We've been to the 90th floor already.
No, this is fantastic. No, you know what? But let's go a little bit more higher up. So, what would because this piques my interest, but following the theme of three, in this implementation, what would be the three biggest risks that a company would face, and how would you mitigate some of them?
Okay, the risk are not having all the three components built together. So that's the first risk, because as we said, this is the first point. The second point is not sharing information with your customers and suppliers. Okay, you can start by sharing non-critical data like forecasting and planning. That would help both sides. So that's the second, but you have to pick with which one to collaborate. But also one problem would be not having the right persons at right places. So for example, if you have introverts, highly knowledgeable, but without any social skills that can explain to customers what you are offering. So this is all those little problems. But the most important thing is that all of this is in let's say in the domain of the upper management. So upper management is the one that puts people in the company. Either they do it, if it's a big company, they have HR department. But again, the upper management tells them whom they want to hire. So first, I would suggest that the higher management gets involved. And after they get involved, the second risk is that they don't stick to it. Because when you are trying to implement a different culture, this one of intellectual capital, you will face a lot of how would you say resistance from employees. So the role and the persistence of upper management is really very important if this is to come to place. But the research shows if you do it, you get better financial and business results. So it's worth doing. It's not overnight, but it's worth doing.
Oh, thank you. And by the way, we are on the 30th floor, and I'm very intrigued by this conversation. And there is a coffee shop right here. Can we just get off, and can I ask you 2 more questions, please? And
okay.
I'm buying.
Okay.
Here is my third question. My entire organization is structured in functions and departments. So so if you were to give ownership of this project in an organization, what would you recommend? Who should be the owner of this project? You know that as a CEO, I will be the project sponsor, yes, but somebody in certain department, or are you recommending a cross-functional team, or are you recommending a certain department to own this? Could you shed some light on that?
Well, I would be for cross-functional teams, and you as the CEO would be in charge, and you would pick your vice presidents, and to each one give one assignment. For example, one would be to build the human capital, will be in charge to build the human capital. The other would be in charge of for example, chief information officer could be in charge of building the structural capital or the knowledge database, and the third vice president could be maybe in charge of developing social capital, and you divide those you give each one a simple task, and then they will pick their employees to form groups with clear leaders of these groups, and they try all to build this new culture of intellectual capital. But it won't happen overnight with clear roles. So, for example, even the worker on the shop floor should be in some group. So, and this group has to have a leader, and when you're trying out combinations how to do the work, then this leadership really of the group really makes the group working. So you have to give roles to everybody. But that's also one little problem, because all the employees, including your vice presidents or chief executive, chief operating officers, will have a double job. They will be in charge of their daily work and the work for building the intellectual capital of the company. So it's not an easy task.
Oh, thank you very much. And this leads me to my final question. Intellectual capital for my organization is very, very crucial. It is my competitive advantage. And that's how I am able to get more business and so on and so forth. Now you're recommending that I share that with my customers and my partners. And that's a very scary proposition for me. How do you address companies like mine that are worried about pilferage of my intellectual capital if they were to take your advice?
Okay, so there is really very much concern about leakage of information from companies, and even the top protected companies with non-disclosure contracts also have problems with that. So this has to be taken really seriously, because operating secrets are maybe the most important ones that gives you the competitive advantage. So what you have to do first is try to build a culture that your employees work in team, but that they are loyal. So it means you treat them fairly, and if you treat them fairly, they will treat you fairly. So this is one way to address this question. The other one is what we already said, by building that knowledge database. So if an employee for some reason is not satisfied anymore, he will leave the company. But if you have the database, knowledge database that you built, the structural capital, his knowledge will not leave with him. you will guard the knowledge. So you have two ways to protect it. But the most important thing is, of course, to build this enjoyable atmosphere at work where all employees will be, okay, you cannot say happy, but at least correct to each other and work professionally and know where the limits are, and know how dangerous it would be for a competitor to get the operating secrets of the company. And as much as suppliers and customers are in question, so you probably already know which suppliers and which customers are potential partners with whom you can start sharing forecasting data. And this will help both sides because of easier planning and less expensive if good planning is in place. But in time, maybe you will start to make joint innovation projects. So, but you have to get to know them. So it also doesn't happen overnight. What you have to be very wary is of those customers and suppliers who tend to bargain hard. Now, they are probably self-interested and want to squeeze out of you everything that they can. And with them, you have to be very careful so that they don't use you, get some information that you maybe didn't want to. So you have to be careful. But if you have the right people at the right places, they will recognize them right away.
Oh, thank you. This has been a fantastic morning in terms of the knowledge that I have gained today. So thank you very much, Jasna. It was a pleasure, absolutely a pleasure having you. And hopefully our listeners and watchers are also going to learn a lot from this.